there, okay.
Well, but it's an even girl, boy, girl. So that's,
Well,
you
there we
know,
go. Yeah.
that's
You
a
gotta
little
keep
better.
those guys under control.
Oh, it's girl, boy, girl.
She's got the tape rolling, so whenever you want to start the work session.
Do we have to call it to order?
Nope,
Just-
not for work session, just state that's what it is, just for, I always stated it just so that it's on the tape, that even though it's
Who's today? January.
24th.
Today, January 24th, let's call the work session to order. We have Holly and Shane present. And I just have a couple things.
Okay.
One, we need to do Stacy's review.
Dun-dun-dun. Where's the card?
So I think we should schedule that before the year gets too far.
Okay.
I don't have a lot to add. She's, I've been working for her for 3 weeks. You and Mike are gonna have to do the heavy lifting on that.
And I can,
I'm just a big proponent that we annually, we should,
Do that.
go into executive session and have a conversation with her
okay.
because, how does she know?
Hey, just me. Don't just point me out. We do that with everybody.
Right. Well, I mean, she has a policy to do everybody, and I think that's good.
Yeah. And
The
I-
voters will sit down with us every 4 years.
Yeah.
Have a conversation with us.
Yeah, they do. And I have a form, if Mike is interested in that we update it and utilize it. If he doesn't want to use a form or whatever, it doesn't matter. But if we want that, I have that, I can share it with you.
Yeah, no, I think it should be in.
I mean, I think as much as when any previous positions to county government, it never was the most enjoyable thing to do, but you owe it to the employee. And as an employee,
Absolutely.
I've been in both situations as an employee where they didn't do them and I felt that wasn't fair. I felt they
Right.
needed to do them, as well as then they do them and you go, yeah, that needs to happen. It's a good touch base feel things, and then it forces you to keep up with the other things that we've done a real good job in the last few years is getting position descriptions updated.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
things change over the course, but if you don't stop to evaluate the person and then assess the situation, get their input, then you don't get the position description and those things adjusted either. And pretty soon, they're out of date by 10 years or whatever, and
Right.
so, good point. Good point.
So, in that same vein is the review of the museum director. I know she directly reports to Stacy, but
Yeah,
I
with,
think I personally would like to see us a little more closely involved with that through this early stage.
yeah, I think so too, with it being a new position. I told Stacy from my experience of working with what the task force was striving for, with bringing the position back and vamping, that was a new position description, because we had eliminated it, or previous boards had eliminated the position, is that I would write down some points and I'd get those to her and she can collect them from you guys too, of, some goals and things. I mean, when the person's new on the job, she's not new,
Right.
to the
We have to treat
work.
her like she's new, and
Right,
we have
exactly.
to make sure that we're giving her the feedback
Yeah,
so that there's that communication.
yeah.
Which was,
So I think we need to set those goals. I guess I know I'll submit some thoughts I had, and you can get as well. You might do the same thing, and that would give us some guidelines, because as we're going to guide her through the first few months, we've got to know if those directions is,
And follow up.
yeah,
And she has an advisory board, so,
yeah.
I think it's still our responsibility as the contracting agency to review her,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
we have to be sensitive to what her advisory board is asking of her as well.
yeah. And I know they're starting to communicate about dates for their first meeting first meeting of this year. So that's what I was just told, so. I'll go and see
Would
about
that be an organizational meeting? Does anybody know? Is
No.
that meeting, is that board already met? There's a chairman, there's a,
Yeah, they had their first meeting in October, I believe. I didn't go back and look for sure, but I think it was, and they did an organizational meeting by their bylaws And then
Okay,
they are to meet at least quarterly. They've already met more than that,
okay,
you know, when they first started because of the hiring process going on and so forth, but, yeah. So they will not, even though like our representative has changed, they don't
Right.
have to do that again until the fall,
okay.
so. But, yeah, we will.
So I guess we need to make sure that we're judging her based off of the goals of the advisory board as well.
Right, right, right. Yep, so we need to get those established. I think we need to get some things in writing, because that'll help you,
Yeah.
and as well as it'll help, because the advisory board may look to us, and I think we're gonna have that feedback for them. Because, you know, the contract that she's got is with the board of commissioners.
Right.
So,
And currently, I have all my departments, all our departments, they send us monthly reports on what's been going on. So at least that's something that we currently do.
Yeah.
If you want to add to that, you know, any presentations, you know, I'm sure they'd love to come in and
yeah.
talk about it. So
dates and so forth.
anything else you want?
This one in particular, you know, we want to just get it going in the right direction. We're making the investment, and
Mhm.
so we just want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Yeah. She said she's gotten into the inventory software,
Wow,
and
great.
she's got, you know, she's got a few items in there, and she said it's kind of tedious. It's a little different than the one she uses in Bucyrus, but she said she loves it. She's actually having fun doing it, putting the pictures in. She puts the sizes, she's put the history in, what each item is. So she's working on it. So she just recently got that software I think last week.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
she's working on it. And she's
Do we have all the hardware and everything that she needs to do that?
She did actually ask for a new printer because the computer we got for her last year, the printer she has is so old. I think it's probably
That
2000.
jerks.
Yeah, maybe not that old, but yeah, 2002 printer I think.
Wow.
It's been working for what she's always needed, but now this one won't hook up to her new printer that she's got, or the new computer that she's got the program on and stuff. So she did ask me about that yesterday.
But we have a digital camera and that's high
She's-
enough resolution and.
Yep.
Yeah. The county bought the computer last year because the foundation offered to buy the software.
Mhm.
So we
Okay.
knew we had to get a compatible,
Right.
you know, a current, you know, computer compared to what they had over there. And
Yeah, it was
so
old.
that got addressed before, while we were going through the reorganizational process.
Okay. I don't know a ton about digital photography, but you know, higher resolution is probably going to be better if she uses that stuff
Right.
long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
For more than just inventory
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to
purposes.
check with her on the camera. I don't know how old the camera is.
Yeah.
So I'll have to check with her on that. But she did mention she really needed a printer because she can't. She's trying to print some of the reports off this inventory software, and she said she just can't do any printing right now. So I told her that we'd look up some prices today and see what we could find for her.
The budget she'll have that covers that kind of stuff is, you know, based on the funding from the two organizations that are part of the cooperative agreement. Basically in the overall budget we had put together, the employee benefits, compensation, all that was really, and utilities, you know, the basic stuff for the museum, the county was shouldering, and then the expense things would be based coming from the monies from the two groups. So they'll need to look at that. I think now we've got one that came in this morning, and the letter of,
Yeah,
they
the
were
letter.
to communicate back to us a letter of commitment to contribute the $4,000 annually in paid in 2 installments. And as soon as they said, yes, we're in on that part, then the county's got to invoice those two organizations for those monies. So, like I said, when they had their first advisory board meeting, assuming that, you know, all that continues as expected, that everybody's staying part of it, they'll look at that budget a little bit and give some money, ideas back, because the money will have to be put in place as that money comes in. So whether it's for equipment, she can buy, you know, for a printer, or it's for joining the state and local histories museum association, because those are the kinds of things we looked at in the reorganization that we would want the museum to be doing. And so now as the realization of the paperwork lines up, the money comes in, and how they spend those dollars in the first year, they'll plan that out. But there'll be
Okay.
monies for her to get a printer, should, without a problem, to join some of those associations, to do some other things. The other thing out there, which I'll tie in, and we hear on Statehood Day, which is early March, we applied for a grant through the state and Ohio History Connection.
Okay.
And Charlene was key on helping with that. I tackled it to start with, and then I went, help. I'm never gonna be a grant writer. Let's do more than one page, nah. Anyway, Charlene saved me on that.
Sign where?
And what? But if that would come to fruition, we would know until Statehood Day, when they would, I imagine they tell the communities who are getting them before that day, because you would be there for the presentation kind of thing. But then that money can't, if we get it, can't be begun to be spent until May. And that was for board development. And so that would give some key things to
Okay.
tie into her goals
Right.
if that happens. But we may not get the money. It's very competitive, I understand, from the museum directors I've talked to over the past couple of years. But thought it was key to where we were at in, organizational development and stuff. But again, we don't know if we'll get the money or not. And that was to bring a facilitator in to help with some things, to gear goals, objectives, initiatives towards developing strategic plan stuff. Not getting that all done, the strategic plan, but
It was
the connectivity to the communities and I think would be a great thing timing wise, but we'll see if we get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my hope is that, that becomes self-supporting and
Yeah.
and not necessarily financially, but that we don't have to think about it anymore. So board development would be really good
Yeah.
for that organization.
So, and I could show you a copy of that. You would not have seen that, but what we submitted for and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, good stuff.
The other thing that I had is just I wanted to have a conversation about, is it public information officer? Is that
PAO.
PIO.
PIO?
Mhm.
Okay. So apparently Dean Henry's our PIO, and that was done by resolution a number of years ago.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we haven't revisited it. And from my perspective, I think annually we should do that appointment with
I have no
our.
idea how, it was done before my time here, so I don't know.
Yeah, and it was when I first started, so I told
Yeah.
Shane I
So-
would get that information for him.
So it's not that Dean has done anything wrong or anything like that. It's just something that we should recognize annually who our public information officer is, and do that by resolution.
Yeah. No, makes sense.
So that when the media calls, they know who to call.
He's already on speed dial.
Yeah, and it's, it's been not the daily business stuff, it's been all the emergency related type
Right.
of stuff that could potentially come up and that kind of stuff, and, yeah, that's what it's been.
Well, and I think we need to revisit it periodically, and part of that is what is the scope of the calls he could answer.
Yeah,
If we're making that appointment, we need to make sure we know what questions he can answer.
yeah,
Because I don't know that I would be comfortable delegating all communication,
right.
and that may be, Jimmy's impression at this point that he speaks for us regardless,
That's not.
So that's something I think we need to make sure we look at.
Today.
And I'm not even sure what the statute is, and we talked a little bit about looking up, what if there's a statute that refers to that, and making sure we're in compliance with
Yeah.
it.
I would think I would assume, again, I wasn't here either, but that it was drafted off of the EOC operating procedures for the Emergency Operations Center, that you have somebody designated to speak to them. It fits into those plans for operations of the center.
Right.
When it opens, that kind of thing. And then, so you have somebody who's doing the reach out, especially when you've got to get the information to the media in order to get it to the public, to say, we're evacuating, we're doing this, we're closing, whatever the situation is, to be the point person for that reach out and speak on behalf of the county for that. But I would assume that's kind of what it followed, but
Yeah.
And you know, I really appreciate the job he's done as far as being involved and being informed, but we need to make that decision consciously, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's what I have for a work session.
That's what you had? Well, I had just a little information I thought I could informally update on regarding, we're working on the time capsule ideas.
Excellent.
And the Historical Society and the Historic Trust, the group Dr. Bing represents and Mark Steinmetz for the Historical Society. The three of us have met every couple of weeks, just batting around a lot of ideas, and venting through some things and seeing what would work and what wouldn't work. And we're obviously in communications with the contractor on our space area that we would have to put a time capsule in. So at this point, Dr. Bing's going to draft some communications to possibly have a column in the paper to kind of be the next outreach of, hey, this is what we're working on. We want you to get in touch with me, send me your ideas, call me, whatever, that kind of thing. So he's going to put that together.
Okay.
But this was a checklist that Mark had found just online with a Google search, I believe, and it matched right up with other things we've had been talking about, as well as we have a complete list that was provided by what was back in 1884, what was presumably in the time capsule as reported by the Seneca Advertiser, and what was presumably in there by the Tiffin Weekly Tribune. And then what was actually in there when they found it. Not that they differ greatly, but anyway.
You're entitled to your own facts.
Fake
news.
Oh my goodness.
But the actual listing of items is what, it is recorded, not only what's at the museum, but in the Lisa Swickert, and there probably is some, I don't know if it's just Lisa's name on the book, the decommissioned 1884 courthouse, the coffee table book that was put out. And in the back of that book is pictures of the time capsule found and the items in it and that kind of
Okay.
stuff. So I'd kind of totally forgotten about all that after originally seeing the book. But so we had that list, but this list, like, it talks about things from the special day, the local newspaper, a television guide, weekly news magazine, an entertainment magazine, then throughout the year, various types of things, messages for the future. This was obviously geared at more of somebody doing more of a personal one than a public one, but we've been talking about that, of having students write letters about, 50 years from now, or what a Justice Center means to them. I don't, where we're gonna go with that. An audio or CD, and we've talked about a lot of the recordings of stuff being on a thumb drive. Now, we realize that technology is going to change how many times over between now and 50 years, who knows? But some way, somehow, whenever it's open, they'll find the technology to play, to use, to view, to read, whatever it is. Now, not everything just being a box full of CDs or thumb drives, but some of the stuff being that way, because then volumes we can get more in, because our space is going to be confined a little bit.
So there's hope that we can get Pokemon Go and the time
There
capsule.
we go, might be able to do that. Catalog, brochure, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of ideas, so we'll just throw that out there if anybody has more ideas or wants to be engaged in any part of this. Dr. Bing was gonna talk to, he works as an advisor to one fraternity and one sorority on campus, and they have to do community service stuff, and because I said, would there be a chance to be a student? And I don't know if you call it an internship or not, it's kind of useless, but maybe more community service to help us if we're on a track of saying, one idea was menus from the local restaurants in town to put in there. Because that's something you're probably not gonna do a Google search or whatever it's called then in 50 years and find.
Yeah.
Now, some things you're gonna be able to get on and you'd find otherwise, but things like that, business cards. I'm gonna talk to John Detwild at the chamber about, hey, would you be willing to have a box out that says, hey, want your business card to be in the time capsule to get an idea? And I said, it's one thing to be able to, you could scan all those in and look at it, but I think to be able to physically have the business cards and they take up no space would be a cool thing. And that was something they found a lot of in the old one, and those are pictured, and they are neat to look at, because things change,
Yeah, and what about the schools getting involved or something?
Yep, and there's ideas of the schools, school annuals, even ideas of asking if the townships and villages want to include something that's, and ask them to do that. Whether it's a little video view of what Republic looks like now, what Attica looks like now, and a summary of that, any types of things they want to do. So lots and lots of ideas out there. And again, electronic form is what's going to help us get a lot in, but yet we still need some physical contact things too.
Yeah, Sheila had to write a scholarship essay recently, and it was, what 3 things would you put in a time capsule?
Oh, really?
To
Okay.
represent your current times. That's really hard, because so much of it is,
Yeah.
ones and zeros. It's all code, it's all
Mhm.
electronic.
Yeah.
And how do you represent that in a
Yeah.
time capsule? That's a tough one.
Yeah. We thought things, collecting a catalog, now obviously can't be of all, but from each of the dealerships in town of the 2017
The cars, yeah.
model cars. And because again, not gonna take up a lot of space, and it, would be interesting to look at something from that from 50 years ago. And yes, you'd find some of that on the internet, but, so anyway.
So
we're
is
in
it actually a
this.
physical time capsule? I mean, is that
Yes.
something that's in the budget? Is that some kind of physical container?
The container part we're working on, because it depends on what we put in it, how we preserve it, but we do have the thought, which has been with the group for a while, is that it is in this public hall of the New Justice Center, and it is marked, might be an area where maybe we display the ceremonial shovel we've got, that was, from the groundbreaking, to pictures from that, pictures from the ribbon cutting, but it's behind glass that it's there, and that it is intended and marked to be open in 50 years.
Okay.
So versus breaking the cornerstone to get it, so you wouldn't get it until the whole courthouse would be torn down. So we thought in a wall would be the way to do it, and that's kind of what we're looking at now in the space the contractors found us, looking at the measurements and
Okay.
that kind of thing to figure out. So, yeah, early stages, but yet in the same sense, time's a ticking, and we're going to get there. I mean, it's this year, so this is going to got to keep moving at
The idea is to
At a
have it
steady
done
pace.
by
the ribbon cutting.
the weekend. Okay. Excellent.
So, yeah. So that's in works. So I don't know if anybody else got anything else for discussion. That's all I've got.
Awesome. Good. Coffee, bathroom break?
Yeah, we can, you need the official time too.
Official time. That's the official time?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Until then.
We can't go into that.
Right, yeah, we can start.
Your first official work